Hello and welcome, Minnesota Farah. We are genuinely very happy to have you with us for our daily coverage of the NFL news. Please subscribe to our channel to support our initiative as we bring to you the latest updates from the world of NFL on a daily basis. Now let's dive deep into our news stories.
In the NFL News Roundup for today, we start with the Atlanta Falcons. Despite their 2-2-0 record, the Falcons head coach, Arthur Smith, has confirmed that quarterback Desmond Ridder will remain the starter following their recent loss to Jacksonville. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 2. Buffalo Bills. Switching gears to the Buffalo Bills, who are off to a strong start with a 3-1-0 record. Unfortunately, cornerback Tre'Davious White's season may be in jeopardy as he is feared to have suffered a torn Achilles during their win over the Dolphins. This is undoubtedly a significant setback for the Bills. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 3. Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are still seeking their first win of the season, sitting at 0-4-0. On the injury front, offensive lineman Tevin Jenkins is set to return to practice. However, wide receiver Chase Claypool will be absent from the team this week as they prepare for their Thursday night game against the Commanders. It's a challenging situation for the Bears. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 4. Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals, currently at 1-3-0, have made a roster cut with quarterback Reid Sinnett from the practice squad. It's a move aimed at reshaping the team as they strive to improve their record. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 5. Cleveland Browns. In Cleveland, quarterback Deshaun Watson was medically cleared to play but chose not to due to discomfort, resulting in a loss to the Ravens. Meanwhile, center Ethan Posic's status is day-to-day, and star defensive end Myles Garrett is dealing with a foot injury, but is expected to recover. The Browns have some key decisions to make moving forward. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 6. Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, with a 1-3-0 record, faced an injury scare as running back Javonte Williams suffered a hip flexor injury. Fortunately, he's considered day-to-day, providing a glimmer of hope for the Broncos. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 7. Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, surprisingly at 3-1-0, are navigating some injury concerns. Cornerback Emmanuel Moseley, who hasn't played this season due to knee and hamstring injuries, is expected to see more action in Week 5. Additionally, wide receiver Jameson Williams is set to be reinstated after a suspension related to the league's gambling policy. The Lions are looking to maintain their early season success. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 8. Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders, with a 1-3-0 record, are monitoring the status of quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, who is in the concussion protocol. Coach Josh McDaniels intends to keep him as the starter once cleared. Additionally, defensive tackle Jerry Tillery, after being ejected for a hit on Chargers QB Justin Herbert, is not expected to be suspended but may face a fine. The Raiders are eager to turn their season around. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 9. Los Angeles Chargers. Despite a 2-2-0 record, the Los Angeles Chargers are dealing with a significant setback as quarterback Justin Herbert suffered a fractured finger on his left hand during their recent win over the Raiders. However, he's expected to recover during the team's bye week in Week 5. Now, let's move on to our next news. Times 10. Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, at 1-3-0, have their eyes on the return of center Garrett Bradbury from a back injury. There's also an expectation that safety Lewis Sin will see limited work this week as he deals with a hamstring issue. The Vikings are working to regroup. That concludes our comprehensive coverage of the latest NFL news and updates for today. Subscribe for more exciting developments in the world of American football.